Well, let's stay with the story now and the many questions around it. The Human Rights Commission says it will seek information on safety plans and access to basic services at schools. Let's chat some more about this with Advocate Andre Gom. He's from the SA Human Rights Commission. Andre, good morning, and thanks so much for your time. You've asked the Department of Basic Education for some additional information on this decision. What exactly have you asked them for?
Yes, we've written both to the National Minister of Basic Education as well as the provincial MECs, and we asked a whole host of questions, including what the provisions are pertaining to the provisioning of water and sanitation, infrastructure, mobile classrooms that have been indicated would be delivered to ensure social distancing, what the protocols would be pertaining to social distancing, also on the matter of the availability of PPEs, the cleaning and sterilization of schools, the availability of teachers when some teachers might be infected in the process and then not be available. What are the plans in that regard? Also pertaining to the protocols for screening and testing of learners as well as educators and staff at schools, and a whole host of other questions. We are also quite concerned about learners who, from other grades, who would still be at home in terms of their access to feeding. You know that we have the school feeding schemes in place, and many learners have been jeopardized due to not having access to those feeding schemes at the moment. And I think what we're also concerned about is that COVID-19 has actually highlighted and worsened the inequalities in our society. Certain learners having access to distanced e-learning at their homes, and others having no schooling whatsoever. Yeah. So we have received various documents and an answer from the Minister that we're studying at the moment. But in the meantime, we will be starting to, in terms of our mandate, in terms of the Constitution, to monitor the observance of human rights.
Yes.
We will be starting to monitor schools from Monday across the country, working together with a whole host of civil society organizations who are part of our committee in terms of our COVID-19 committee, which we established as a commission in terms of our Act, Section 11 thereof, and to ascertain to what extent schools are indeed ready to receive learners.
How are you conducting that monitoring, there, Andre? Sorry to interrupt you there, but how are you actually doing this? Are you getting them to physically go and do checks?
Yes, that would be one part thereof. We will also engage stakeholders such as unions and so on, who also have networks, but it would inter alia be monitors physically visiting schools. We have about 400 members of this Section 11 committee that I've mentioned, not only commissioners and staff of the Commission, but also including members from other civil society organizations. So yes, it would also include doing physical checks at schools. We have alerted the Minister as well as the MECs in that regard as well, and to inform schools that we would be on our way. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to cover all schools in the country, but we aim to at least target schools from all quintiles in every district to establish what the readiness of schools are.
On the issue
and then to intervene if we find that there are problems.
Okay. Well, on the issue of rights then, Andre, I mean, it's going to be a case, I suppose, of weighing up a child's right to education and then a child's right to be protected from illnesses or disease like this, to good health as well, and from not, to protect them from being exposed to this. So how do you weigh that up? And I'm asking as a parent who has to weigh that up myself, and I've got about a week, just over a week to do that, and we're busy answering surveys and questionnaires this morning. So how do we weigh that up? What do we put at the fore of that?
Yeah, I think more and more medical experts are saying that the lockdown has served its purpose, and therefore, in principle, it is a good idea now to get schools to start opening, provided that social distancing and all the other measures are adhered to. And I think that is where your question comes in. Education and the right to education is a very important right, but education can also not be provided in a manner which infringes upon the rights to health of learners, educators, and so on. And that's why it is so important that these measures that I mentioned and that we all know by now what they are, PPEs, social distancing, sanitizing of hands, all those kinds of measures are indeed in place at these schools. And that is what we're going to check through our monitor.
All right. And Andre, like I say, lots of parents being consulted by the schools, asking for what they think, what their concerns are at the moment. What should we as parents be asking our schools or saying under these conditions, that's the only time I will send my child to school? Because there are going to be those parents whose children will get sick, as we had the professor saying just before this interview, that you are going to see little small cases of infection, pockets of infection when kids go back to schools. You're going to have those parents who are going to want to hold the schools responsible. There's going to be that tussle. It's your responsibility as a school. It's yours as a parent. What are the things we need to be putting in place before that happens?
Yes, I'm also a parent, and my position and that of the Commission is, let us allow the schools to reopen, but let us all be vigilant and check that the safety measures are indeed in place. And I think the Department of Basic Education, the provincial departments, should make available to everyone the measures that should be in place at schools. It includes basic issues such as water and sanitation. The department indicated that there is now a new program as far as that is concerned. They shifted funds and so on. That's something basic that needs to be in place. And then also in terms of PPEs, that social distancing must be maintained, etc. But I think it would be maybe not that wise of parents to keep their children at home. Then they will have to register for homeschooling, as the minister indicated. And, this COVID-19 virus might be with us for quite some time. So I think the focus should be on making sure that the schools have taken and the provincial departments have taken the measures necessary to make the school a safe environment, and that should be the bottom line.
All right, thanks very much. The Human Rights Commission's Andre Gom. I look forward to maybe getting an update from you in a week's time as to what you found from Monday as you head out to schools checking on the conditions there.